ghostly apparitions, UFOs, aliens, and mysterious creatures lurking in hidden depths around us. These are the mysteries which baffle, yet pique our curiosity. Will we ever prove their existence? Welcome to Paranormal Experienced Radio. Listen as your host and seasoned researcher Kat Hobson discovers new evidence, bringing us closer to the truth with informative guest interviews, the latest paranormal news, investigation advice, and equipment tips. Kat is the lead investigator with SCARE, located in Birmingham, Alabama, and feels that her gifts were given to aid individuals in distress in what should be their safe environments. Now here is your host of Paranormal Experienced Radio, Kat Hobson, on Let's Talk Radio.
Hello there, and welcome to Paranormal Experienced Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I'm so glad you're here tonight. We have such an exciting show lined up, and we are already getting questions in the chat room, so that's pretty amazing. I am very fortunate to be able to welcome two people tonight. We have my friend Rick McCallum, who is a stuntman, an actor, a paranormal investigator, and the founder, along with his friend Kane, of the Hollywood Ghost Hunters. Rick has done so many things. I was just kind of taken aback, honestly. He started his stunt career in 1982 as a mere child. He performed a fight scene with Chuck Norris, and I really want to know who won, like we don't, on the film Lone Wolf McQuade. He has performed in numerous action horror movies. He's got more than 70 credits to his name. He has been a body double. He has worked with so many horror icons, including Kane Hodder and I have a terrible time with his name, Mihailoff and Sid Haig. He was the monster in Deepstar Six and the title character in the film Darkwolf. And he teaches people how to bust their capoozle gracefully. He has trained actors and actresses, including the Comic-Con Star Wars Challenge winning short, Saber. Oh, wow, that won the best film and best action. So that's pretty amazing. And he's coordinated on The Walking Dead, the webisode Cold Storage, which won a Streamy Award. And he's been everywhere recently. He has been just an astounding person. He was in Naked Gun 33 and a Third, Hatchet 2, and he was a silent hunter there, John, and recently in J Edgar. So when I say he's a busy guy and really good at what he does, I am not exaggerating. And Rick, I am so very pleased that you're here tonight. Thank you for joining me.
Well, who wouldn't join you, Kat?
Well, you're charming. I like that. Tell me more about me. No.
well, I think you're one of the nicest people I've ever met. How's that?
That feeling is mutual. I enjoyed you so much. Getting to meet you at Scarefest last fall was just a really great experience for me. I don't just have that rapport with just anybody. And it was immediate. And yeah. I appreciated your time, and you're one of the most patient people. Everyone adores you. And it's just pretty nifty. You know, you've done what you do for a long time, and you're good at it, and it's appreciated. I think that's cool.
Well, thank you. You make me sound a lot better than I really am. You should be my agent.
I'm a great publicist, just so you know.
I guess you are.
But I really do mean that, though. I mean, yeah, I have friends who are in the horror genre, and I don't generally watch those movies, which just astounds them. But it's because I react to them, and they affect my emotions, and which is what they're designed to do. I get that. But my reactions to them are kind of extreme, and then I see dragons everywhere. But I think that probably you and your friends are the best in the business. And
well, I would say, Kane Hodder, he plays Jason Voorhees in the Friday the 13th, and he plays Victor Crowley. I mean, I would say that he's one of the top horror icons in the business. Mm-hmm. And Ari Mihailoff, who played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, I would say he's another icon in the business. Myself, I've done tons of stuff, but I would not be an icon in the business because I have more of a low profile than them, never having done a name character.
Well, but you are very well known in that business. And
I've been around a long time.
And I just think it's neat because, I have friends who produce those movies too. And it's just an interesting concept that when I was at Scarefest and saw the people reacting to them, it was just kind of like, wow, this is intense. And, we have had, I worked at a haunted house in Birmingham, Alabama called Atrox. And they are very well known for having people of horror there as guests. And I never know who they are.
It's funny, Kat? I don't really watch horror movies either.
Well, I think there's
I'm kind of the same way. I see people getting hacked up, and it makes me all upset.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it is. It does. Yeah, because it's just kind of like, oh my.
But on the set, it's totally different when you're doing it. When you're ripping somebody's arm off and beating them over the head with it, because you see how it's being done. Mm-hmm. You don't feel the same connection to it as when you're watching it on the show when it's all done. When you're watching it on the screen.
That's logical. I know that I can be a fantastic monster. I do enjoy that aspect of working at a haunted house or a haunted attraction. But, I recently got to be a zombie at the Walking Dead sites. And I scared myself. I told my son not to show that picture to my grandson because it was so much fun, though. We went into town and a child jumped up and ran away from his table screaming, "They're going to eat us, run." And he was not a small child. He was a preteen.
I would love to have seen that.
It was hilarious. And I had to go back later and I walked up behind him and I was just like, "Did you run from me?" And he turned around and he just... he didn't know what to do. And I said, you don't really have to be afraid. It doesn't hurt. And
you're evil.
I am. And then when he started getting really freaked out, I said, "I'm just kidding. I'm a bee-bah. I would never hurt you. And this is makeup, so you're okay." I said, "But the others over there are real walkers, so you should probably watch out for them." Because they were. I mean,
Kat, you're as bad as I am.
I am. Okay. I picked up on a few things while we were talking, right?
Yeah, exactly. You were. I think I was a bad influence on you.
You were a great influence on me. I had the best time. That was fun. And
it was indeed.
And I love watching people react. It's just too cool. And, it's just fun. When I was a monster, I was only half a person, and I had entrails at the bottom. And watching people react to that was fun, too.
Well, I can give you one of the best ones ever. When we did the movie Darkwolf, when I was standing up with the Darkwolf suit on, it's actually a werewolf suit. I was over 7 feet tall with red glowing eyes. Ooh. And we were downtown L.A., and right down the way from us was a strip club. And it was probably 2:30 in the morning, and we're all standing out there. And I see we're down the street from the strip club. We're not down where they are. We're about maybe a block and a half up. And I see this car come out of the parking lot, and it's weaving all over. The guy is obviously drunk as can be. And he pulls up to the light next to us, and I just turned around and I said, "Watch this." And I walked over and just stood next to his car. And he's sitting there, and all of a sudden he realizes someone's, next to his window, and he turns around and he looks up, and then he sees the red eyes, and he just stomped on the gas, went flying through the red light, and I would be willing to bet that dude don't drink ever again.
Oh, you are bad. And I like that. Well, I'm going to tell you that I would like, if you don't mind, to bring someone else in on the show.
As long as it's Tony.
I'm going to bring him. But, I told him that you really were serious with your post. I didn't because, I didn't want to scare him. But Tony Rathman is the winner of the Supernatural and Paranormal University's Paranormal Evidence Contest. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the judges for that. It was put on by Paranormal Nights, and it was neat. People seem to be afraid of that for some reason, and I don't know why, because you know what? Tony won a premium package show for a year, and he is going to be busy. He's already in training. He is being coached, and he actually is pretty cool. His website is www.entityvoices.com. He's an EVP specialist. And you can find him on YouTube by searching Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations. And that is also where you can find him on Facebook, but it's with the initials EVPI Investigations. Or Entity Voices. And with no further ado, I want to welcome our winner, Tony. Hi, Tony.
How you doing, Kat?
I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
Well, welcome to Let's Talk Radio.
Pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you. When you decided to choose that particular piece of evidence, what was your thought process?
Well, we had multiple evidence that we thought would be good submissions. And in fact, I didn't submit just one. I think I submitted 5. Obviously we picked the best ones. We picked the FLIR image of the no body heat figure walking across, which is the one that won. But then we had a bunch of other ones too that were either really clear EVPs, that, the message that was in them was kind of startling. And the fact that it was so clear, it was as if some person was standing right next to us and there was no one else there. So those were some of the criteria we used to pick our selections.
Well, say hello to Rick. Rick, this is Tony. Tony, this is Rick.
How you doing, Rick?
Hi, Tony. You got the voice for radio, I'll tell you that.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm so looking forward to this opportunity that they gave to me to do a radio show for the year. So couldn't be happier.
Well, we'll have to check you out later on in the year and see how you're doing.
I appreciate that.
I think it's going to be amazing. He does have the voice for radio.
Definitely looking forward to it.
I looked at his site, by the way, and it's pretty good. So
I did too. And
thank you.
You do really strong work, and you and your wife are partners, are you not?
That is correct. Most of paranormal investigating have a huge, elaborate team. We had thought about doing that, but as we got into this, over the past 7 years, we started out with just us, and we noticed that a lot of groups would go out with huge, massive amounts of people, and we noticed that when it was just the two of us, we had a lot more interaction with less people. So we continued down that road.
Well, And don't you find that it works best because you don't have the contamination that you would get otherwise?
Absolutely, and that's a fantastic point. The hard part is when you have to do the reviewing, the editing, going through DVR, 48 hours worth of DVR camera by yourself. That's when you wish you had the big crew.
Well, I talked to some friends, and Rick, you are probably more familiar with this, but people who do film so much and they're going through that, they don't share each other's video to the other. They actually are doing the review of their own work so that they are aware of what was happening around them. So I thought that was a neat point when we were discussing that.
Absolutely.
I think when you were actually there, and you can also, when you're listening to the tape or you're watching the film, you can go with the experience of actually having been there, and it will click in more like what it might possibly be. So you can actually, clear out some of the contamination once in a while because you actually had seen somebody walk by in the background or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That would be logical. Well, I know that I had gotten to where I was carrying way too much equipment with me to review comfortably in a time frame to get it back to the client. So I had to start using a few less pieces. What all do y'all actually carry with you?
Well, which one of you are you asking?
Both.
Go ahead, Tony.
Well, we have quite a lot of equipment, and it continues to grow year after year. But it depends on what we take, depends somewhat on where we're going and, what we've done via research on what we're expecting to find, what kind of things are happening. But we will take everything from full spectrum cameras, night vision cameras, digital recorders, spirit boxes, FLIR image cameras, full spectrum cameras, laser grids, EMF detectors, motion detectors, shadow detectors, basically everything that's in the gamut of where, ghost hunting has arrived to today. The technology aspect of it has definitely increased tenfold in the last 5 to 10 years. And so there are a ton of gadgets out there, but the gadgets are great and they work perfectly when they're backing up something else, but on their own, you usually have to have something happen that starts the sensation that, hey, something's about to happen, something's going on, and then back it up with some piece of equipment. So that's kind of how we always have everything with us. It's just a matter of what we use on each investigation.
Terrific. And when you have that much, it can sometimes be overwhelming.
You have no idea. We will go for a one-night investigation, and there's 8 bags of paranormal equipment, so it's crazy.
That is crazy. But I bet you catch evidence.
We have been extremely fortunate in that arena, and obviously our main focus, our main evidence that we catch, we have some amazing EVPs, but we also have, like I said, images of body figures walking through halls with no body heat. We've got photographs, we've got apparitions, we've got the whole gamut. But EVPs are definitely a strong point for us.
Well, I think that that's pretty cool. Having seen your work, I'm very impressed.
Oh, thank you very much.
And we are about a minute out from going into our first station break, and we will be back. I have so many questions, and Tony, I know that this is your first time on with us, and please feel free to ask Rick questions too, because he doesn't bite all that hard.
That's great,
I can if I want to.
You can, but it would be a long stretch right this minute. So.
I'll mail you a bite in the mail. How do you like that?
There you go. And, I'm just so enjoying this. I can't wait to hear the comparison between the equipment and the experiences. And we will be back right after these messages.
Let's Talk Radio don't buy that everyone thinks their kid is cute. There has to be a few that look at a new baby and think, he better be funny. WGOG DB Clearwater. Let's talk. Shopping, dining, beautiful lakes and rivers, and a monster? Welcome to Braxton County, West Virginia. Centrally located, Braxton County, West Virginia is the ideal place to visit. Natural beauty and recreation abound with 2 beautiful lakes for easy kayaking and canoeing, and many hiking trails. Did we mention the Flatwoods Monster? That's right. Visit Braxton County, West Virginia's Flatwoods Monster Museum and not only learn about the Flatwoods Monster, but walk in the same footsteps as the people who witnessed it. Nearly all of our attractions can be found within a few miles of Interstate 79. Visit us online at braxtonwv.org. That's braxtonwv.org. Braxton County, West Virginia. Center yourself here. Nothing feels better than a good cleanse to wash away the day. If you think that refreshes you, then experience the ultimate cleanse with Soaps by Susan. Cleansing Spiritually LLC uses only pharmaceutical-grade essential oils, all-natural shea butter, coconut oils, and vitamin E, and tailored toward the ultimate cleanse. Susan uses a skin-safe fragrance with an aroma that brings a smile to your face and takes you to that happy place within. Each bar is handcrafted and custom to order, so it not only cleanses the soul, but also matches your room's decor. Cleansing Spiritually soap makes great gifts, or you can just indulge yourself for a spiritual cleansing you'll never forget. You want some now, don't you? We thought so. Contact Susan Todd to place your custom order at facebook.com/spiritually. Don't settle for clean. Get spiritually clean at facebook.com/spiritually.
Your Monday nights just got better. Tune in to ParatalkRadio.com. We are your paranormal talk. On the air, on the web, and in the field. We have guests from all over the paranormal world. We discuss ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. Check us out on Facebook Live on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern at Facebook.com/ParatalkRadio. Remember, wherever there is darkness, there is always the light. ParatalkRadio.com.
The weather outside is cold, but we're smoking hot.
Hot damn.
WGOG DB Clearwater. Let's talk.
Back with Paranormal Experience Radio. I'm Kat Hobson, your host, and I am a lucky woman tonight. I have 2 fantastic guests. My guest, Rick McCallum, is one of the founders of Hollywood Ghost Hunters, as well as being a brilliant stuntman and actor. He is hilarious and kind and just an outstanding person. The other guest is Tony Rathman, who, from what I can tell, those things are going to apply to as well. He is the winner of the Supernatural and Paranormal University's Paranormal Evidence Contest, and as such, will be joining Let's Talk Radio as our newest host. And his Facebook page, Entity Voices, is just brilliant. You can search that under YouTube. And there's really not much that based on what I saw of his work, that they don't do. So we do have some questions, Rick, for you in chat, if you're up for it.
Of course.
And these are from Brenda. And her first question was, what was your first true paranormal encounter?
Oh, well, it's funny. You would think with the way the TV shows are going, and you'd think that the first time most people saw us was on Ghost Adventures, that was probably when I started. But I am actually entering my 51st year of ghost hunting. That just tells you that I'm like really old.
So you started that as a child too?
Yeah, I was a baby. I could barely keep my eyes open. Actually, my grandfather had passed away, and he wanted to be buried in Paducah. I didn't really know him very well. I'd only met him just before he'd passed. And my mother and I took him on a train to have him buried in Paducah, Kentucky. And I was 13 at the time. And when we got there, we went to the closest hotel to the cemetery. And the person at the thing, I mean, the classic story said, "I'm sorry, we only have one room left, and it's haunted." Now, I'm 13. You know, that's like telling you got a free trip to Disneyland, right? I'm like, oh, yeah, baby, right? So we go in, and it was a very strange room. It was probably 20 feet wide with wooden floors. It looked almost like it would be like a small basketball court, just, you know, rectangle. And on each side of the room, there was, you know, a small bed. And, you know, we were tired, and my mother was on one side of the room, I was on the other. And in the middle of the night, I heard her scream. So I pop awake, and I turn around and look, and I'm kind of thrown off because something seems wrong. And I realize that my bed is being shoved towards the middle of the room. And I look, and here comes her bed, you know, charging towards me. And the two beds smack together, right? So we're like, what in the world is going on? So my mother was a very smart woman, and we were trying to figure it out. So we kind of figured maybe a truck went by, and the beds were on rollers. So we thought, well, maybe the floor is warped. So we took a glass and set it on its side and tried to roll it, and it wouldn't roll down either direction. So the floor wasn't warped. And, you know, we went back and we pushed the beds back. We tried pushing them towards the middle, and they would go, but it wasn't easy. And the fact that we were going so fast was just, you know, way out of the norm. So we both realized that something, you know, paranormal had happened. I mean, there was no way around it. There's no trucks coming, you know, nothing else happened the rest of the night. And we were in the same place. We put the beds back. Nothing else happened. But that really got my interest.
That would get my interest also. I believe your mom screamed. I would have screamed if I were traveling with my son and that happened.
Yeah, I think she probably just screamed from just the jolt of the bed
shock
being moved, you know?
Right. Well, I have stayed in a haunted hotel room. And when they ask you, do you want the most haunted or a less haunted room?
Well, any of us is going to say the most.
The most, yeah. And I just said, are they loud? Because I'm tired. You know? I had been driving for about 8 hours and somebody hit my car with a tire piece. So I was not the happiest of campers. But yeah, I definitely did go with the haunted. So
you have to. How many chances are you going to get?
Well, none. And the hotel I was at was on Cedar Key in Florida. And it has since been visited by a hurricane and took a pretty tough hit. I don't even know if that hotel is still there, but I got to experience it. So, because I didn't let the day, you know, ruin the day. So,
well, you know, I had one other experience in a hotel that was just so weird. Kane and I did a movie a couple of years ago over in Australia called Charlie's Farm. And there was a little town called Imbil. I mean, it was, you expect to see Crocodile Dundee walking through this place because the whole town was like 2 blocks long. And everybody went to this bar on the corner called the Railway Hotel. And there used to be a railroad right next to this hotel, but they'd stopped using that thing. But the hotel was still there and the bar. So I'm sitting there and I got to be friends with the bartender. And I asked her, I said, are there any haunted places around here? She goes, right upstairs. I said, what do you mean? She goes, the hotel. I said, you mean the hotel's still open? She goes, yeah. I said, well, how much is it for a room at night? She goes, $35. And I said, really? Is it, you know, can I get in? She goes, oh, there's never anybody up there. I said, you're trying to tell me that if I give you $35, I'm going to have the entire hotel up there by myself? And she says, yeah. And I said, oh, I'm in. So, I mean, I went over there. I went 4 or 5 times to that place and stayed overnight. And there were some interesting things that happened, but it was so noisy outside with the trucks going by and bouncing over the train tracks that, you know, you had to discount a whole bunch of stuff. But, I mean, can you imagine having an entire hotel for yourself for $35 a night?
That is too cool.
You know, the little town in Australia, you know what I mean? If any place is haunted, it's got to be that place.
Well, no doubt. Well, what was the most interesting thing that happened to you there?
Their voices. I mean, I would be sitting there, like I said, there's nobody in this town. When they close up the town, you know, it's gone. There's nobody on these blocks. I mean, I'm like the only human being, you know, probably for 500 yards any direction. And, I mean, I would hear voices down the hall, you know, like in other rooms. And, of course, I was creeping up and down. And I had access to every room because all the doors were open. So, I mean, wide open. It wasn't like I had to go open the doors. They left all the doors open so I could hear in other rooms. So I went through the whole place. And I'd hear, you know, stuff down at the other end, like doors rattling and stuff like that. So it was really interesting place. And I would say it's definitely haunted. But there was no whiz-bang moment while I was there at any of them.
Sometimes you don't need one. I mean, when the experiences are just compiling like that, that had to be so amazing to experience.
Yeah, it was really cool just having the run of the place. I mean, I was like in my own town, and there was nobody else there. I mean, it was so cool.
Yeah, that would be just a dream come true. I mean, seriously. We have one more question in chat, and then I am going to give Tony the chance to get his questions in for you.
Sweet.
And the other one is from Brenda also, but it was kind of a two-part question, and she wanted to know, how was it working with Chuck Norris?
Well, Chuck Norris, I got to tell you, is one of the absolute nicest guys I've ever worked with. And, you know, I wasn't one of the stars. I wasn't one of the main guys. You know, I wasn't even one of the main stunt guys because it was my first movie.
Right.
But he was so nice to me and so nice to everybody else. I mean, he would come and sit down while you're eating dinner. I mean, he just was one of the guys. And he was actually just as nice of a guy as can be. And I'll tell you, years later, I mean, probably 3 or 4 years later, my brother was a kickboxer. He actually won the World Heavyweight Kickboxing Championship. And Von Damme was at the thing. I mean, all these different people came because it was a charity event. And I saw Chuck, and Chuck looked at me and he goes, "Hey, I thought you went back to Colorado," where I was actually living at the time. And the fact that he remembered that, you know, like 3 years later when I was just like one of the guys, you know, I thought really said a lot about him. So, I mean, and I actually bumped into him another time later, and he still remembered me. So, you know, he didn't have that Hollywood to him. He was a real guy.
Yeah, that's nice to hear because he presents that way, and it's nice to know that he is.
Well, he's the kind of guy I would feel safe leaving anything I owned at his house and just say, "Can you keep an eye on it?" You know? Yeah.
Well, not too many people are going to mess with it.
I guess not. It'd be a good place to leave my stuff. I never thought of that.
There you go. Look, we have one more question in chat. And this is for both Rick and Tony. And that is, what has been your favorite location to investigate thus far?
Go ahead, Tony.
Well, my favorite location, and only because it's localized, it's where I started my first investigation and have probably investigated it probably close to 50 times, is the Hotel San Carlos in downtown Phoenix. This place has always had a reputation for being haunted, but there is so much going on in that building, far beyond what anybody has any idea. And like I said, the winning evidence of that figure walking across the hall, that was Hotel San Carlos. The EVPs we have received from there are off the charts, shadow figures. It's an incredible place.
Cool beans.
By the way, Tony, I actually drive over to the Birdcage once in a while, and I have to go through Phoenix. So if you ever want to, hook up and hit that hotel.
Absolutely. If you are ever in the area, let me know. I have been there 2 or 3 times. It is on our list again to head back down there for another investigation.
Yeah, that hotel sounds really cool. By the way,
awesome
when
place.
I went to the Birdcage, just to follow up, I went in there. This kind of goes back with the earlier question about equipment. And I went in there with 9 pieces of equipment. I had, my K2 meters. I had GoPros. I had 2 infrared cameras. I had a FLIR camera. I had a thing that you could put on the floor, on wooden floors, and it'll actually pick up vibrations of footsteps. Yep. I mean, I had recorders. I had my flashlight. I had laser grid. And every one of them, fresh batteries, all recharged to the max. And within 45 minutes, every single piece of equipment stopped.
Yeah, I had that exact same experience happen in the Queen Mary. Batteries, we just could not keep them charged. It was the craziest thing we had ever seen. I mean, we've had it happen before, but this was nonstop. New batteries in, 2 minutes later, dead.
Well, the weird thing was when I got back to my hotel room, all the cameras worked.
Really?
Oh, that's so frustrating.
And I've never seen that before, where they didn't work, and then they worked later. I've had them all drain and not ever work until I recharged them. This I got back and they started working again.
Wow, that's crazy.
I've experienced that, and it will make you want to cuss. Because it's like, are you kidding? You're doing this now.
Actually, I didn't mean to interrupt. The other question was the best place to hunt. And actually, Kane and I have, between us in RA, we've been to most of the hot spots. But lately, my big thing is going over to Scotland and England. And I had one of the most bizarre occurrences happen at Bolton Abbey in England. It's not my favorite place. I don't think I really have a place. I love the Pioneer Saloon. I had an awesome thing happen there.
I love there.
Yeah, we've been there too. That's a great place.
It is great.
Well, I think when I went in there, actually, I think a couple of things tried to attach to me. And they had the audio and video going, and you can actually see it on YouTube. It says EVPs with Rick McCallum, and it actually says in there pretty much that something has hold of me on the EVPs. I didn't take them. Somebody else did, and listen. As I came back, I got instantly, totally 100% so sick I thought I was going to die. And I'm not kidding. I mean, I'm sitting there, and both K2 meters in front of me are going 10 lights. And the girl goes, "Wow, the spirits must really like you." And I looked over and I said, "I'm not so sure they do." And the first thing you hear the first thing you hear is, "We do," a woman's voice. So I tell him, I said, I'm going outside. I got to get some fresh air. So I go outside. I'm out there for 10 minutes. Jill, the girl that runs the hunts, comes and gets me. And I say, "Yeah, let's go back in." So we walk in, and I feel like Chuck Norris kicked me in the gut, right? I'm like, "Oof." And I just looked over. I said, "Guys, I'm really sorry, but, I got to get out of here. I don't want to ruin your night." So I turn around, I start going, and you hear a man's voice go, "Turn Rick back." So right then I stop, and I turn around and I look back, and I say to him, I said, "Good night, guys, good luck." And I turn around and I start walking away, and according to the girl, because she's written it in there, and I couldn't really hear it that great because I'm about half deaf most of the time, but it says on there, it says, "Release him."
Wow.
So that was really... That was one of the most strong reactions I ever had. I mean, one of the things was I thought I was on fire. I mean, I really did. I was so hot. And the girl asked me after we heard the first voice, she goes, "What's the matter?" I said, "Feel my forehead." And I was expecting to say, "Wow, you've got a fever or something." She goes, "Oh, my God, you're like ice." And the girl next to me on the other side reached over on my arm, and she goes, You're like frozen solid." She goes, "You're so cold." And this is all on the video, too. You can still see it. And as I walk by, there's a girl about maybe 1.5 feet from me as I walk by who's sitting down. And as I walk behind her, she goes, "I can feel him from here." So I have a feeling at least one or maybe two things were trying to attach to me that day.
Well, it sounds like they were pretty effective at doing it for a short time at least.
Yeah, and judging by the symptoms that you just explained, that's exactly how it starts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure both of you have felt something touch you and then felt the ice cold thing come over. Mm-hmm. Well, when your entire body goes ice cold, something is really after you. I mean, it's not that one spot. Your whole body starts turning, like an ice cube. So I figured at least one, probably two, were trying to wrestle with me.
It definitely sounds that way.
Yes, it does. Wow.
But yeah, that's one of my favorite places anyway.
I was very impressed with the whole experience was good for me.
And they're very nice people too.
Yes, they are. And I was just really, I don't know, the whole town, the whole little area feels like it's got activity, but the actual saloon itself was just, like you said, it's so intense. The emotion and feeling in there is so intense.
Yeah, I mean,
and I didn't experience what you did, and I was still feeling the intensity. So I can only imagine how you felt.
Well, there's more to the story. Twice while I was there, we all heard my name called out with our ears, not on EVP, right? And there was a guy there who was a magician, who was one of the guys there. And you know how you have to debunk everything. I called up Jill, and I said, Jill, let me ask you a question about the guy who's a magician. And she goes, yeah. I said, is he a ventriloquist? And she says, no, not as far as I know, because I thought maybe he was, tossing the things, my name out there to see if he'd get a reaction from me, right? But anyway, I said, she goes, no, but that's not what happened, and I can prove it. And I said, really, how can you prove it? She goes, I had 2 hunts the next 2 nights, and both nights they called your name out twice.
Wow.
Wow.
That was kind of creepy after she told me that.
That's creepy. That is creepy. It's like, bring him back.
And you know what? I did go back. And absolutely nothing happened, actually.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about the paranormal is you can never expect it. It doesn't follow any rules or logic and shows up when it wants to and not on command.
True that.
Well, my feeling about ghosts is you will see a ghost when a ghost wants you to see it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely correct.
And not if they don't, no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You can't force it. So, Rick, one of my questions for you, and I think Becky already preliminarily answered it, in that you've been experiencing paranormal, the majority of your life. But when was the deciding fact to actually not only do the Hollywood Ghost Hunters, but to truly pursue the personal interest of what's out there in the paranormal? When did that happen? Was it just based on maybe knowing that you had an interest, or was there an occurrence that said, I want to go out, I want to find out for myself, and by the way, let's do some television shows to include what we find?
Well, it was kind of a all my life process, and I did not even find out until after my mom was very sick and getting ready to pass away that she had all her life seen spirits. Mm-hmm. All her life. And I mean, and my mother was very low key. She'd sit there and say, oh yeah, I've seen him here all the time.
Yeah, that was my grandmother.
And she'd say, no, they're always here. But yeah, I had a lot of really bizarre things, that happened to me. And you know how some people can sing and some people can dance? I can't. I have no talent in that area. My only talent seems to be that spirits come to me. And I don't know why. But, I'll go into a place and nobody will have anything happening, and everything around me, all their machines and everything else will just start going off,
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well,
yeah, it's very strange.
And the more you get involved with it, that door opens, that veil lifts. And the more you know that they're there, the more that they're going to communicate with you, that veil starts to lift, and more of them come and more interaction occurs. So having spent time, and in your case, the majority of your life interacting, that veil becomes very thin.
Well, you know what I've discovered, and that's a great way of putting it, Tony, by the way. When I became more open and stopped ghost hunting and actually started going where they could come to me, a lot more things happened.
Yep.
Once I was open to it, it was like maybe they can sense, or your vibration changes, or however it is that they decide to come to certain people. Once I stopped ghost hunting, they started coming to me more often.
Yeah, because they're aware that you do know they're there, and they can communicate with you. But you're absolutely right. When we first started out years ago, it started
Tony,
slow and it built. Yes.
You know what? We are going to have to go to station break. I just looked up and it is time, but we will be right back. And I do want to hear this because I know it's going to tie right in and I can't wait. But we will be back in 2 minutes.
All right.
We interrupt our scheduled programming to bring you the following conspiracy theory. Humpty Dumpty was pushed. WGOG-DB. Let's talk.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has delivered a one-of-a-kind reading experience, covering everything from psychics, UFOs, paranormal investigations, and more. To subscribe, visit fatemag.com or call 828-702-3032. That's 828-702-3032. Subscribe and find your true reports of the strange and unknown at fatemag.com.
Haunted, a psychic story by author and radio host Ariel Grace. This is not your average book of hauntings. Haunted, a psychic story is written from a psychic perspective and contains true stories and some handy tips. Written in 3 parts, Haunted, a Psychic Story contains chilling adventures, advice from the archangels, and helpful tips used by Ariel Grace to clear haunted homes around the globe. Haunted, a Psychic Story is available on Amazon or you can download straight to your Kindle. Haunted, a Psychic Story by Ariel Grace. Get your copy today.
Grow your business. At Signorama, we offer customized solutions for signs, branding, marketing, and advertising. We have a full range of custom sign and graphic services to meet your needs, build your brand, and create your image. Look around and you'll see how our specialists help businesses enhance their visibility and get noticed. Let us work with you to understand your unique marketing goals and help you reach them. Signorama, the way to grow your business. Meet with an expert at your local Signorama or visit us online anytime.
If you call other talk stations, all you get is,
"Hello, we're sorry, but no one is available to answer your call at this time."
But at Let's Talk Radio, we're here for the best talk, news, and information 24 hours a day. Hear it here first or find out about the alien invasion tomorrow from someone else. Depend on us. Let'sTalkRadio.net.
Minutes after the hour, and you are back with Paranormal Experience Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I am joined by Tony Rathman, who is our newest host here at Let's Talk Radio. I can't wait for his show to begin. And Rick McCallum, who is a stuntman, an actor, a pretty outstanding man in his own right, and one of the founders of Hollywood Ghost Hunters. And you guys were just discussing all the things. And I didn't mean to interrupt, but, got to pay those bills. So, Tony, please go ahead. I'm sorry I had to interrupt you.
No problem at all, Kat. But what I was trying to explain based off of what Rick was saying is, that they were coming to him. And that is absolutely the truth. We have experienced that probably to a degree that far outseeds what other people had gone through. We started to notice after about, it took probably a year and a half, but then we started to notice, and our house is probably not more than 9-10 years old. Doesn't have any haunted history to it. There hasn't been any deaths in this home. But my wife was giving the dog a bath one day, and she was videotaping it because he was being funny, all wet and running around. Well, he ran out into the living room, so she just tossed her phone on the bed and went to go get the dog. Well, she forgot about it, so it recorded for like an hour. She was the only one in the house. When she asked me to fix her phone because she didn't have any space left. I realized she had recorded for like an hour. Well, when we listened to this thing, it was absolutely covered from start to finish with EVPs and voices that were nowhere around or in the house. It was absolutely incredible. And today we cannot turn on an audio recorder, a video recorder without constantly getting voices out of nowhere. In fact, the brief show I did with Todd last night, I noticed some interference, and I haven't had a chance to review it yet, but I think there's one right on the show.
Oh, that's very cool. That is very cool. One comment I can tell you about one thing that I have learned in being around for a gazillion years. I hear that a lot where people say our house has only been here for 10 years and nobody has passed here or anything else. And my comment to them is always, how long do you think the land has been there?
No, and that's an excellent point, Rick, because there are so many other factors that can influence spirits being around, and land is definitely one of them.
Well, I mean, what history has it on there from 100 years ago?
Well, exactly. And yeah, just because the house is only so old doesn't mean there hasn't been trauma and all sorts of other things that have occurred on the land that it's sitting. So that is absolutely true.
Well, you know what I find interesting is that as I go along, I don't know, some people out there might have seen Ghost Adventures when we were on there. We did the Pico House episode.
Yep.
I was invited back with R.A. to a hunt at the Pico House about a year later. And the story was that there was a kind of a race riot, but it wasn't really race related. It was because the Chinese Tong, had killed an Irish cop. So they went after the Tong because they were the organized crime factor.
Right.
And it ended up being the white people and the Mexicans, and I say Mexicans because they were actually Mexican territory, most of it at the time, went after the Chinese. Well, we were down there with the K2 meter, and I was trying to get some responses, and it was just dead. Not a blip, not a light lit up, nothing.
Right.
And finally, I had something sunk into my head, and this is what I say the more you go along, more things come to you. Right. And I just looked over, I said, does anybody here speak Spanish? And they said, yeah, I do. This girl did. I said, okay, after I say this, wait a minute or, a little bit, and then repeat it in Spanish. And as soon as we started doing that, the English, nothing. As soon as she'd say things in Spanish, we were getting 4 and 5 light responses every single time.
Wow. Very cool.
I mean, I think that's a little of the growing as a ghost hunter and a little bit of the thinking outside the box.
Absolutely.
And I think that comes to you the more you go out.
Yeah, you kind of learn from it because, like I said, I mean, when you're dealing with the paranormal, you're dealing with theory, and you have to be able to critical think to figure out what's happening, how it's happening. Can I recapture it? Because let's face it, the scientific method doesn't really apply here.
Yeah, well, I thought though when the Spanish, they started answering in that gave the whole thing a whole different light, a whole different value to me. Because sure, you can get lights to go off and stuff like that, but when they respond not into the English, but they instantly respond to a Spanish thing, and Spanish people had died in this area, that just told me, okay, there's something here.
Right. We've had an experience where my wife is from the Philippines, and we've actually gotten EVPs into Tagalog, which is just insane because it's not a language that is spoken in a lot of areas. And, we've gotten it also on spirit boxes. The Phoenix radio stations don't broadcast in Tagalog. So when you get an EVP in Tagalog, it didn't come from any radio station.
Well, I'm not sure that Phoenix radio station speaks in regular English. I think, they talk a little more Southern down there.
That's a great point, Rick. That's a great point.
Hell, boy.
That is a good point. But it is strange though what various phenomena occurs, and like you said, that's an excellent point, because when you started speaking the language that they knew and understood, that's when your responses changed.
Yeah, and I mean, it just gave me so much more validity to this hunt, knowing that it was responding to a different language that they would have known back then.
Right, exactly.
Not they would know back then, that the people back then would know. Let's put it that way.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's a great point.
I've always seen where people go to these places, these castles and things, and they'll be in France and they'll be asking in English. I was like, take somebody that speaks French with you.
Yeah, good point. But we've also found that if we ask to change the language, that they can do it. So the question is, and again, this is all what people believe and understand. But if you are anywhere where you're thinking that maybe they're sharing a collective conscience, maybe they can speak in any language they want.
That's something to consider.
So what's it like? I've never been overseas and I've never gotten to investigate there, but what's it like to be able to actually investigate a castle or I know you've been into some underground tunnels and all sorts of other great paranormal areas that I would kill the opportunity to get to try, but
I'll tell you. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, what have you done a castle, and what was that like? And with that amount of history compared to what's available here in the U.S., what was that like?
Well, first off, anybody that's a ghost hunter has to go to Scotland, and I'm going back for another month this year. I go for a month every year, and then I sometimes get invited over into England. This year, I've been invited to Denmark. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there or not. But, yeah, I've been to several castles out there. One was one called Hales Castle, and it's a real interesting thing that happened there. It's kind of a broken-down castle. Part of it is caved in, and part of it's still up. And it's out in the middle of, like, a field of straw grass. And it's out there just sitting by itself. Sure. There's houses around, but they're quite a ways away. And I was guests of a thing called Premier Paranormal. There were two people. We went. And as we were walking up the steps to go into the castle, I just stopped and I turned around and I was looking out. Now, this was in the middle of the night, obviously. And we're standing there looking out. And they said, "What are you looking at?" I said, "There's something out in the field." And they said, "We don't see anything." I said, "I don't see anything either, but I'm telling you, there's something on the field." They said, "Well, how do you know?" I said, "Because I can feel it. There's something out there." So they looked, and the one guy goes, "Let me look." And he walks down to the gate, and he looks out into the field, and he comes back. He goes, "There's nothing out there." I said, "Okay." So we came back out, and as we were leaving, I was just stopped on the steps, and I'm looking over, and they said, "What?" I said, "I'm telling you, there's something out there." Right? And they said, "Where?" And I pointed my finger. I said, "Right there." And right when I did that, what looked like an old-time lantern lit up right where I was pointing in the middle of the field.
Oh, that's
went
awesome.
Like maybe 10 to 15 feet and disappeared.
That's awesome.
And both of their faces were like, "Holy crap."
Yeah, you pinpointed it before it even showed itself. So that's amazing.
Well, you were asking about the castles. The nice thing about the castles in Scotland, there's a lot of them over there that if you want to go ghost hunt them, go. They don't have an authority that tells you to go. The police don't care, unless it's marked not to go in there.
Right.
In Scotland, their idea is, if you fall down or you break your leg and you complain, they go, "Well, maybe you shouldn't have been, banging around in a dark castle, you dumbass."
Oh, yeah, you can't complain then.
Yeah, I didn't force you to go into a dark castle. Man up a little bit here and take care of it yourself.
Exactly.
But yeah, I've been to many places over there. It's amazing.
We are almost at the top of the hour news break, and I want to follow up on this because I know that you're going back, and I have questions in chat about some of the places over there, and yeah, this has just been great. So this is it. This is our 5-minute break. Enjoy the news. I hope there's something a little bit good in there, and we'll catch you on the flip side in 5.
For station identification. It's the little cinder block building on the north side of town with the towel behind it. WGOG DB. Let's talk.
More
Staff change is expected at the White House. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Sources telling Fox more cabinet shuffling could come by the end of the week.
In the top of the changes I'm being told to watch for, H.R. McMaster, the National Security Advisor, to be replaced by Ambassador John Bolton. Another potential change coming up, VA Secretary David Shulkin out to be replaced by Energy Secretary Rick Perry. Though Rick Perry has been telling people that he really likes it over at Energy and really isn't not inclined to move over to the VA.
Fox's John Roberts at the White House. This after it was announced conservative radio and TV host Larry Kudlow would become the next chief economic advisor.
Kudlow on CNBC's Closing Bell said he disagreed with the president's decision to impose certain tariffs.
My problem with the steel and aluminum tariffs, as they were originally announced, is that it might do harm to American users of steel and aluminum.
Despite that criticism, Kudlow has also praised the president's work on tax reform.
Fox's John Decker at the White House. 1 month after the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, Congress takes action on gun legislation. The House overwhelmingly passing the Stop School Violence Act. Florida Republican John Rutherford sponsored the bill.
The action that the House just took, I think, is an important first step forward in protecting our children, our teachers, and other administrators within our schools.
The measure sets aside $500 million over 10 years to improve school security. It still needs Senate approval. This morning, students all around the country walked out of class in protest of the lack of action to protect them in schools. The Senate voting 67-31 to ease bank rules, bringing them a step closer to passing a rewrite of the Dodd-Frank law. Fox News, fair and balanced.
Are you hiring, posting your position to job sites and waiting for the right people to see it? ZipRecruiter knew there was a smarter way, so they built a platform that finds the right job candidates for you. ZipRecruiter learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. These invitations have revolutionized how you find your next hire. In fact, 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just 1 day. And ZipRecruiter doesn't stop there. They even spotlight the strongest applications you receive so you never miss a great match. The right candidates are out there. ZipRecruiter is how you find them. Businesses of all sizes trust ZipRecruiter for their hiring needs. Right now, our listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/newscast. That's ZipRecruiter.com/newscast. ZipRecruiter.com/newscast. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Another problem for United Airlines involving how it treats animals on its planes. Fox's Steve Rappaport has this live.
Lisa, United carries more animals than any other airline, but it also has the highest animal death rate. The latest incident happening Monday when a flight attendant forced a passenger to put her dog in an overhead bin. The dog was dead when the plane landed 3.5 hours later. The airline acknowledging that the passenger said she had a dog in the carrier, but the employee did not hear or understand her and didn't know about the dog inside. United had another pet peeve yesterday, sending a Kansas family's dog to Japan by mistake. The family found a Great Dane waiting for them in the cargo area instead of their German Shepherd. The airline saying the two dogs had similar carrying cases. Lisa.
Steve, atheist challenging a county in Kansas over its decades-long practice of opening public meetings with prayer. The county received a letter from the Wisconsin-based Freedom from Religion Foundation, which fights for separation of church and state. The Wichita Eagle newspaper reports the foundation has accused the county government of violating the Constitution by denying an atheist the opportunity to speak during the time the commission sets aside for its opening prayer each week. Sedgwick County Commissioner David Unruh said during a public meeting yesterday, if they don't believe in God, he doesn't care if they, quote, go to hell. Federal investigators on the scene of a bus crash in Alabama that killed the driver and injured dozens more.
We have interviewed a number of folks that were on the bus. We have interviewed other folks that were on the trailing bus.
Investigator Pete Katowski, the bus carrying students and adults from a high school in Houston, were on their way back from a trip to Disney when it careened off the highway. Reaction continues to come in to the death of renowned physicist Stephen Hawking. Neil deGrasse Tyson tweeting his passing has left an intellectual vacuum in his wake, but it's not empty. He says, think of it as a kind of vacuum energy permeating the fabric of space-time that defies measure. Lisa Lacera, Fox News Radio.
While the other stations are run from high rises in the city, We're programmed from a little bungalow on Windtree Drive. Let'sTalkRadio.net.
We'll listen to Kat.
It's after the hour, and you are listening to Paranormal Experienced Radio here on Let's Talk Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I am joined tonight by Rick McCallum, who is just a fantastic person. He is a paranormal investigator. He is one of the founders of Hollywood Ghost Hunters. He is a stuntman extraordinaire. He has had a brilliant and successful career just so far. Who knows what's coming next? It's going to be awesome. And one of the things that we were talking about before we went to break was the fact, and Tony Rathman. Tony, I'm sorry.
Not a problem, Kat.
Tony is our newest host here on Let's Talk Radio, and I'm so excited for him to be joining us. He is the winner of the Supernatural and Paranormal University's Paranormal Evidence Contest, and it was brilliant. You will enjoy him. He is experienced. He is entity voices, so look him up. You'll enjoy his work. And we were talking about your European experiences, and we actually had a question from Denise, who is following up on when you were talking about you can just walk into the castles. And she wanted to know how hard it is to get into locations in Scotland, Ireland, and England, I'm assuming other than castles.
Well, you know, it's and I say this not to sound arrogant, because I'm about the least arrogant person you've ever met. I can't imagine anybody wants to talk to me ever. But I have a tendency to get into places that other people don't. And I think it's because of Hollywood Ghost Hunter magazine, because I always write about where I'm going. You know, so like if I say I go to the birdcage, I say, well, I'm going to write an article about you, put it in the magazine, which is, you know, why I go there in the first place. And I think that opens a lot of doors. And I think the fact that Kane and RA are members along, you know, with us, that opens some other doors as well. But I've been fortunate enough to, one of my real good friends over there now runs the Real Mary King's Close, which is the part of the city that's underground. It's like a 1,500, 1,600 thing, and it's at one of the attractions. And as far as I know, I am the only person that has ever ghost hunted the place with just him.
Oh,
we were
wow.
the only two in there ghost hunting through there. So one thing about England and Scotland, you don't have a hard time finding locations. Everywhere in those places is haunted. And they're so much more open to it than they are here in the United States. And it appears that so far they haven't really gotten to the same problem we have here, where everybody wants $1,000 a night to go anywhere you want to go. You know, over there they're pretty much, yeah, come on in. Right. So I mean, it's wonderful to go ghost hunting the places, and frankly, one of the most awesome things that I've ever had happen to me happened at an abbey called Bolton Abbey in Yorkshire. Which was outside. And so, I mean, anybody wanted to walk in could just walk in and walk through the grounds and everything else. And I mean, fantastic place, built, like in the 1100s, I think it was. This chapel, the roof is gone, but the entire building is there. The floor is actually grass. I mean, it looks like it's the grass at the Masters golf tournament. I mean, it's beautiful. You got the moon coming in from that. I mean, it's amazing to just go through these places. You know, so there's a lot of places that you can go. There's just so many options to go to. I mean, you don't really have to go to the famous places. You can go pretty much anywhere you want. But getting into the famous places, though, to get to the heart of the question, yeah, you can get in, and they're a little easier to deal with than they are here.
They would just about have to be.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I have a little team of female investigators, and we enjoy each other's company, and we've investigated together in the past, and we've decided to start hitting some of our bucket list places, and we come from all over the eastern U.S., we are going to Prospect Place. Is that the right name of it? I believe it is. It's in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And Prospect Place is a place in Manhattan. I'm going to have to Google that in my information because now I'm drawing a blank. But it's just an amazing experience that we're looking forward to. And they were very reasonable. And they had dates open. And, one of the girls' daughter is getting married the next weekend. And it's just kind of let some pressure off before you go into that final frenzy moment for her. But they're all fantastic investigators. We are so excited to be doing that together. And I would love to be able to go to different parts of Europe. I think I may get an opportunity to go to the Paris catacombs. And that being said, we have a question for you in chat about whether you've done the catacombs in Rome.
Actually, I have never been to Italy, and it's on my bucket list. This year, I want to go to Amsterdam, and I want to go to Denmark, and I'm going to England and Scotland. I do want to get to Italy eventually, but I have not been there. I've been to the underground vaults in Scotland, to several of them. Actually got some really interesting pictures of one of them. But no, I haven't been to Italy yet.
Well, did you do the Edinburgh vaults, the Edinburgh tunnels?
Absolutely, and I did the Southbridge vaults. Actually, I think one of them, I can't remember which one I got the evidence in, but I sent it to them, and they were actually using it to promote their place for a while.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's... well, like I was saying, there's places. There's a place in Edinburgh called Arthur's Seat, and it's a mountain that's right downtown, and you can see it. It's a big mountain. And one of the guys from Premier Paranormal, he says, "Come on, I want to take you ghost hunting tonight at a chapel." So where is it? He goes, "Up on the mountain." So we go walking up on the mountain, and it's like 11 at night. It looks like it's 5 in the afternoon. It's really bizarre, and how late the sun stays up. But we're standing at this chapel where half of it has collapsed and has been taken away. But we're sitting there, and I mean the K2 meter is going off. We're getting figures on the FLIR. I mean, it's like, and it's just someplace. If you want to walk up the mountain, it's right there.
That is so nifty.
That's awesome.
And just for the record, we're going to Prospect Place Estates. One of the ladies is in chat and is saving my bacon there. So there. But
yay, lady in chat.
Yeah, it's Terry, and she is one of my favorite people to investigate with. But, I just find that astounding that you can just wander up there and do that. The accessibility is incredible.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of places you can't just walk to, obviously. But, I mean, the fact is there's just so many places you can. That you like I said, you can go through all of the graveyards by Rosslyn Chapel. You can go up by the castle. I mean, you can walk all through there all you want. Nobody cares.
Have you done the Paris catacombs?
No, I've never been to France either. That's the only places I've been in Europe so far is England and Scotland and Switzerland.
Pretty places.
Now I'm starting to go out to some more places.
Are you just so excited?
Absolutely. Actually, I've made quite a few friends over there, and it's funny. I have no superpowers other than one, and my only superpower is that everybody seems to be really nice to me. I don't know why, but I love it. I mean, and this will tell you something about the Scottish. I thought I had, this place pretty wired because a friend of mine is one of the guys that runs the front desk at Travel Lodge and always hooks me up with a great room. The lady who runs the Chapel Cross Inn across from the Roslyn Chapel, she always hooks me up with a room. And I just said, well, what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to get 3 days at Travel Lodge and then, hop on the bus, go out to the chapel, set up a place, and then just go around Scotland, see what I can find. Well, I would go out to the chapel, the Chapel Cross guest house, and the lady says, "Oh, we're full up." And I said, "Wow, you guys are never full, right?" Because it's like being in place by yourself half the time. And She goes, don't you know what's going on? And I went, no. And she goes, well, the European Rugby Championship is sitting here. And she goes, and I was just looking for rooms for somebody else who had called. And she says, we have the master, all the hotels are hooked into one database so they can tell if anything is open anywhere. She goes, there's not a hotel room between here and Glasgow. And I'm like,
oh, no.
Wow.
Yeah, that was what I said. Oh, no. So she said, try this one other place. Now, the whole point of this story is to tell you what the Scottish people are like, because they're wonderful. I called this lady who had an inn, and she said, I'm sorry, but we're renovating, so a lot of our places are down and we're full up. And I went, oh, dang it. And she goes, what's the matter? I said, well, I saved up all year to be able to come here. I said, and I've been here 2 days, and it looks like 2 days from now, I'm going to have to get on a plane and fly home. Right? And she goes, well, how long do you need a place for? I said, how long is the rugby thing? She goes, 10 days. I said, well, about 10 days. and she goes, let me call you back. And people think I'm making this story up, but it's absolutely 100% true. She calls me back, and she goes, I don't know if you'd be interested in this, but my mother has a house, and it's in Dalkeith. It's, a little bit away from Roslyn. Walking distance, about 8 miles. I would walk there, back and forth there a lot. But she says, and she's going to England to visit her sister, and she said, you can have her house till she gets back. I said, well, when she come back, she goes, well, after you're gone. She says, so, you got it for 10 days if you need it. I said, oh, okay, how much does she want? She goes, don't you dare offer her money. She'll get mad.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I said, wait a minute. Your mother's going to let me stay in her house. I've never met either one of you. You won't accept money from me. Well, how do you know I'm not going to steal everything? She goes, well, first off, she says, I'm good at judging people. Second off, that's just the kind of people we are. And third off, she says, if you weren't a nice guy, you wouldn't have offered to pay.
True enough.
Like, oh, okay. But she asked me, she says, besides that, my mother likes to know somebody's there, so nobody can break in. And poor Carolyn, her daughter, a couple days later, I was just getting something out of the refrigerator, and I hear somebody at the front door. And she had a little double doors, the foyer. You walk in one door, and there's another door you got to go through. There's a little alcove there. And I hear the door open. I can see through the frosted glass somebody's in there. So I go all, Bruce Lee mode. I'm all ready to jump on the perpetrator, right? And I'm standing there, and the door opens up, and it's Carolyn. And she goes, oh, my God. And she goes, oh, you scared me. I said, told me to watch the place.
So that, taking you out is included in that service. Thank you. That's funny.
That place was haunted too, by the way. That house.
Well, don't you think that just about everything there is?
Oh, I really do. England and Scotland are, you don't have to go far to find spirits.
Well, their history
I have been to some of the places
also.
they claim there are, and nothing happened. So,
yeah, that's marketing.
Yeah, exactly. You got that right.
Yep.
But they have such a beautiful history, but they have such a bloody history as well, and that does leave marks on land.
Oh,
like we were talking about.
You have
earlier.
no idea their history until you go on the vault tour. And they take you to the one room where they show you all the torture devices that they used on the homeless people.
Wow.
It's just
random homeless people?
Yeah, the homeless were not allowed in Edinburgh. And what they would do is they had this thing that they would actually put into your mouth and turn the screws until it busted your jaw and your teeth.
Well, that's pretty strict enforcement.
Yeah, and then the guy asks at the end of the thing, he's showing us all these things, and me being the ugly American that I am, he goes like this, he goes, so does anybody have any questions? And I said, yeah, what the hell is wrong with you people?
And is it still like that? We are about a minute from our next station break, but how long was that practice in place?
Probably for quite a while. That's Edinburgh was a real brutal town.
That's just amazing. Well, I'm glad that...
I will tell you a quick story when you come back.
Okay. But that's just astounding. And we will see y'all on the flip side in 3.
Let's talk. Shopping, dining, beautiful lakes and rivers, and a monster? Welcome to Braxton County, West Virginia. Centrally located, Braxton County, West Virginia is the ideal place to visit. Natural beauty and recreation abound with 2 beautiful lakes for easy kayaking and canoeing, and many hiking trails. Did we mention the Flatwoods Monster? That's right. Visit Braxton County, West Virginia's Flatwoods Monster Museum and not only learn about the Flatwoods Monster, but walk in the same footsteps as the people who witnessed it. Nearly all of our attractions can be found within a few miles of Interstate 79. Visit us online at braxtonwv.org. That's braxtonwv.org. Braxton County, West Virginia. Center yourself here. Nothing feels better than a good cleanse to wash away the day. If you think that refreshes you, then experience the ultimate cleanse with Soaps by Susan. Cleansing Spiritually LLC uses only pharmaceutical-grade essential oils, all-natural shea butter, coconut oils, and vitamin E, and tailored toward the ultimate cleanse. Susan uses a skin-safe fragrance with an aroma that brings a smile to your face and takes you to that happy place within. Each bar is handcrafted and custom to order, so it not only cleanses the soul, but also matches your room's decor. Cleansing Spiritually soap makes great gifts, or you can just indulge yourself for a spiritual cleansing you'll never forget. You want some now, don't you? We thought so. Contact Susan Todd to place your custom order at facebook.com/spiritually. Don't settle for clean. Get spiritually clean at facebook.com/spiritually.
Grow your business. At Signorama, we offer customized solutions for signs, branding, marketing, and advertising. We have a full range of custom sign and graphic services to meet your needs, build your brand, and create your image. Look around and you'll see how our specialists help businesses enhance their visibility and get noticed. Let us work with you to understand your unique marketing goals and help you reach them. Signorama, the way to grow your business. Meet with an expert at your local Signorama or visit us online anytime.
Of all the radio stations in the world, we're one of them. WGOG Digital Broadcasting. Let's talk.
2 minutes after the hour, and you are back. I'm Kat Hobson, your host here at Paranormal Experienced Radio, and I am joined by Tony Rathman and by Rick McCallum. And we were discussing all of the fun things, but somebody in chat had questions about, have you been to the Inverness area? And also, there's a question in chat relevant to ley lines involved with some of the places that you were experiencing activity.
You know, I don't really have a good grasp on the ley lines. I know that they're supposed to have more energy and connect with, you know, like a connection to the earth itself and things like that. But I've never really been to many places where I would have been able to experience that. So, I mean, I just, what I know is from what I've seen on the shows. So I couldn't really tell you that. And what was the other part of the question?
If you have been in the Inverness area.
Actually, I have. And what a beautiful place. A lot of people don't know about Scotland is that it was voted the most beautiful country in the world. And I never would have considered that. I wouldn't have even thought of it before I got there. But, I mean, it is green with mountains, and, I mean, it's beautiful. Lakes, rivers, you know, it's not what you think it is. I mean, it's gorgeous. And when you actually go through the Highlands, I took a tour that went through Inverness and went through all those places to get to Loch Ness. And you stop at these little villages and things like that, which is really interesting. And what I found out, which was really funny, is the first person to ever have a report of Nessie is the person that our name, my family name, comes from.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was St. Columba, and McCallum comes from St. Columba.
Wow.
Well,
that's interesting.
How long ago was that?
I think it was a couple weeks ago. No, it was I mean, like the 1300s or something, way back.
Wow. That's astounding. And you were going to tell a story when we came back.
Yeah, I forgot what it was. I have taken several significant blows to the head in my stunt career, you know.
Well, I tell you, I don't know how you do that. And I do know that it's a skill and a talent and that it has to be learned. But holy wow, that is such a job.
Well, you know, I get questions all the time. Like a friend of mine, a director friend of mine, used to teach a directing class at UCLA. And I always get two questions. The first one is, at your age, doesn't it hurt a lot more to do stunts? Now, after I go out and choke the little bastard who asked me that,
there you go.
I always answer him. I said, no, it doesn't hurt anymore. It hurts a lot longer.
Well, that's
and the
true.
other one we get is, isn't it really hard to do a high fall? And I go, not really. It's just one step.
It's a doozy, that first step.
You do that, you're doing a high fall.
But I know that I have watched filming, and it is so hurry up and wait. And have you had stunts that were something that you just were adamant that you get one take on this?
Well, you don't really get the choice of being adamant about it, because when you're there to make sure you get what the director wants.
Okay.
But there are several that I did one on Darkwolf where I jumped on the hood of the car, and the car goes backwards. It's going probably close to 20 miles an hour, and does the reverse 90 degree, which is like playing crack the whip.
Right.
And throws me off head first into steel oil barrels. And I mean, I was probably going well over 20, and you know, I'm hitting these. I mean, these are 55-gallon drums. They're not little things. They're huge barrels. And I mean, I hit those things so hard. I mean, it knocked me, you know, a little senseless. And of course, I start off semi-senseless, so it wasn't that bad. But one of the things you can always tell when a stunt is going to be really dangerous is when you go out to do it, and if the cast is standing around
to watch and see.
Mm-hmm. One of the girls, Andrea Bogart, I still remember her name. She runs up to me. She sees me going to jump on the car, and she goes, "Are you going to get hurt?" And I went, "Yep." She goes, "How much?" I said, "Let you know in a minute."
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, you can't go off a car going 20 miles an hour and go head first into steel barrels and not get hurt. See,
well, something's going to hurt.
Well, there's a difference in the stunt business between getting hurt and getting injured.
Right.
Being hurt is okay. Being injured, you don't want that.
Well, injured is downtime and not being able to do things.
Yeah, and, you know, hurt is just like, ow,
yeah.
That hurt.
I just find that fascinating.
Yeah, it is an interesting business.
I don't know. I think there's a thin line between brave and nuts.
Well, you know what's funny about that is that's how a lot of people conceive of the stunt business.
Right.
But it's anything but that.
Well, you can't be doing it like a nut because you have to plan it.
Yeah. I mean, everything, we call it blocking. Everything is so planned out. And I mean, there's always going to be a risk doing stunts. That's why they have stuntmen and not letting the actors do it, because you can get hurt, you know. But I mean, you take every precaution. And I think you'll find, and it's kind of weird, you'll find that stuntmen are some of the smartest people you meet on the crew. Because, I mean, they have to know physics, you know, they have to know, you know, mathematics. I mean, you got to know some stuff to be able to figure out, you know, if you get launched from over here, where you're going to land.
That's true. That's very true, especially if you're...
I mean, so, well, Tony, I want to hear some of your places you've been and things like that.
Well, most of my places have been here in the U.S., but we've had a chance to do the Queen Mary out in Long Beach, which was an absolute treat to experience that place. If any of the listeners have never been out to the Queen Mary, just a very dynamic and tons of activity going on that ship. That was one of our favorite places. We are heading to the Bel Air house in a couple of weeks to do a 3-day investigation there. Now, the Bel Air house has quite the reputation.
Yes.
And we won a trip there, which makes it even better. But we've got 3 days. Yeah, exactly.
Are you rigging these contests, Tony?
Yeah, that's how you get through life. If you can rig every contest, it's a lot more fun.
You're winning a lot of stuff lately, pal.
I answered a riddle from the groundkeeper that actually got thrown out of the second-story window of that house, and I got lucky, and I had the right answer, and so really looking forward to that one because I think there's going to be some great evidence that comes out of that. But one of the questions I had for you, Rick, is if you had entered the contest that I just entered, what piece of evidence would you had submitted for the best evidence concert out of all the experiences you've had?
It sounds pretty similar to one that you sent in, from what I understand. But the problem was I was using the FLIR for Android with my tablet, and just as I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jack Kenna.
Yes. Sure.
Yeah. Well, Jack's a really good investigator, and he and I were investigating the Buffalo terminal at one of the Paracons, and we were in the foyer of the station, and we're downstairs, and we're with like maybe 8 people, and I'm looking through the FLIR, and there's all the people, and you know how it looks. I mean, they're like orange, and they really light up. And in the back, I see a figure standing there that's like pale blue. And I look over the thing, and there's nobody there. And I'm looking through the thing, and I went, Jack, come here. So Jack comes over and looks. I said, look. And he goes, there's somebody standing back there. And I said, yeah, except for there's nobody standing back there. Right? So we get all the people to come walking towards us, and we start talking. And we're saying, hey, we know you're back there. Can you do something to let us know you're here? Well, and I swear, it's just standing there. It turned to its left and walked about maybe 3 feet and stopped, right? Turned and walked back to the right and raised its hand above its head and waved and disappeared.
Oh, wow, that's
How
awesome.
cool is that?
That is so cool.
And it didn't record onto the tablet.
Always. Always happens.
Oh.
And the second one, the same night, Jack and I were upstairs in this long hallway, which had rooms on each side, and all these other people were with us. And if you have a tablet that has the FLIR on it, they all crowd around to watch. So everybody saw this. It wasn't like I could have mistaken it. Jack says, I'm going to go down the hallway into the other rooms and see if I can't flush something out. So I'm sitting there, and I look, and down, maybe a minute later, I see Jack come out of one of the rooms. And right behind him, something else comes out right after him, right? Now, there's not anybody else in there. We're all behind this table. He's down, 20 yards away. And I yelled, Jack, there's somebody behind you, right? I thought it might have been a homeless person or something, right? And Jack goes, what are you talking about? I'm still in the room.
Get out of town.
No, seriously. So I walked down there, and he's in the room. And I'm saying, Jack, I swear it was you. It looked like you. And he goes, no, I never left the room. And I said, well, here's the interesting thing. Even if you did leave the room, something followed you.
Exactly.
I said, either way, that was paranormal. Either it was you and something following you, or it was 2 things that you scared out. So, and once again, the thing didn't record.
That's frustrating when that happens.
Yeah, that was the end of that tablet, by the way.
No doubt.
No, I have a new one that I have all the newest operating systems in, and that glitch is gone. But those would have been really 2 of the best pieces of evidence.
Yeah, they sound like it too. That's great stuff.
Well, if you ever get a chance, we have HollywoodGhostHunters.com. Mm-hmm. And if you go on there and look under, it'll say evidence on the left, and then there'll be a bunch of different things. And if you go to Hallway 1 and Hallway 2, they are both at the Oman House.
Okay.
And
yes, the David Oman House.
Yes, he was a friend of mine, and he's a very interesting fellow. He and I have some of the biggest arguments you'll ever hear in your life.
Yeah, I've had one with him too.
I mean, but he's a good dude. He really is.
Yeah, he is.
But if you look there, you'll see things. What I do is when I go into a place, I set my camera on the floor so nothing can walk from underneath it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, that's smart.
So I set my camera on the floor, and in both of them, something goes past the camera. One of them, we have no idea what it is. It's close enough to the cameras it goes by. We get all kinds of different things and what people think it is. And the other one, the best way I can say is it looks like a tomahawk, like someone threw it, how they spin in the air.
Right.
Or a baton, and it comes out of the wall. It's transparent, but you can see it. You see it, and it starts to spin, and it vanishes.
Wow.
But that place is just freaky haunted. There's all kinds of stuff happen there. And you're right, by the way, about the Queen Mary. I've had an experience on there as well. So.
Yeah, I love that ship. It's just absolutely intriguing to be there.
Well, what's fun too is for anybody out there who's listening that's thinking they might want to ghost hunt the Queen Mary. A lot of people don't realize it's a hotel.
Yeah.
Right.
Rent a room. Take your K2 and your voice recorder. Walk the hallway at 3 a.m.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, we were talking about the Stanley refusing ghost hunts at this point, and I'm like, book a room. Seriously, just book your room. Go get a Coke in the middle of the night.
Yeah, exactly. What happened to me there was nothing scary paranormal, but one of those you kind of go, what? my mother came to visit me, and she wanted to stay on the Queen Mary. So I called up and booked us a room, and got down there. And while we were checking in, there were all these girls in evening gowns, young girls. So it looked like it was probably a prom, right? And we go down, and we're way up in the bow of the ship. And if you've ever been there, I mean, you look down the hallway; they're 100 yards long.
Right.
I mean, it's huge ship. But anyway, we're down there. My mother asked me, she says, "Can you go get me a donut from the bakery?" I said, "Sure." So I open up the door, and I'm standing in the doorway with my back, leaning against the door jamb, and I'm asking her what kind of donut she wants, if she wants me to get a milk or something for her to drink. And I hear what sounds like 10 to 12 people giggling and tittering and, laughing as they're coming down the thing. And I figured, here comes the prom people. And I turn around and I look, and the hallway is completely 100% empty.
Wow.
So I take off. I mean, instantly. I turn and I just jog up the thing, and I run into the alcoves, and I listen at the doors for the first 5 alcoves. There's nobody down there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it was, that was, like I said, it wasn't scary, but it was like, oh boy, that was, all right.
That was something.
That ship's definitely got all sorts of strange activity, paranormal activity going on. So, yeah, anybody, like you said, any of the listeners that, are thinking about someplace they want to go to check out ghosts, Queen Mary is a fantastic spot for it.
Well, even if you don't see anything, just getting to walk through the Queen Mary is really cool. A friend of mine used to run the tours there a long time ago. And actually, I've been, and once again, people are nice to me, and I have no reason to figure out why. I mean, I've been through that ship and everywhere. I mean, places that I wasn't supposed to be. And some of those times it wasn't with the girl that ran the place. I was with some of the other people from the ship that took me to different places.
Sure.
And I went down there one time. Me and Zach and Aaron and R.A. and a bunch of people all had dinner on the Queen Mary, and went for a little bit of hunt. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
and Zach and Aaron, Zach Bagans and Aaron Goodwin.
Yeah, they're
Ghost Adventures.
They're interesting men in their own right.
Well, and Nick wasn't there actually because his daughter was being born.
If you're not going to be there, that's probably the best reason to have.
Yeah,
because it kind of is a perfect balance.
Yeah, I'm still pretty good friends with all 3 of those guys, and Billy Tolley. Actually, a lot of people don't know that Zach produced a movie called Sympathy Said the Shark.
No, and, I didn't know that.
Yeah, actually, one of the guys that's one of his cameramen on Ghost Adventures, Devin Lawrence, was the director, and I stunt coordinated it for him.
Oh, wow.
Well, I knew that he had a theater degree, but I didn't know that he had gotten into the production side.
Yeah, and it was so funny listening, behind the scenes, when I got there, nobody realized that I knew Aaron and Zach, right?
Right.
So I'm just sitting there listening to how the guys were talking about Zach behind his back, and it was so funny because what they were bitching
that were working
about,
for him?
Yeah, what they were bitching about, I was like, are you kidding? Like the one guy goes, yeah, he says, I told Zach one time, he said, I'm not making that much money on this. He says, and sometimes I get sent out for stuff. He says, and anytime I tell him, he says, Zach will just reach in and grab, a couple hundred and say, here, does this help? And I was like, oh, that vicious bastard.
That out, right?
That's the worst thing that happens to you. Somebody's nice to you. Get out of town.
Well, people give him a hard time. I give him a hard time because I think that the methods that he employs sometimes, if somebody is not a paranormal investigator that wants to emulate him, because he is so popular and he's been in that field forever, but he's very provocative because he is trying to get evidence. He is part of a production. And so I have made the comment before that, I just really think that sometimes his methods, when people emulate them, get them in trouble.
I can see that. Because,
it's not a lack of respect. It's just an opinion.
Well, one of the things, too, is that a lot of people don't realize is when you're trying to have a show, and, all three of us know that ghost hunting, a lot of stuff doesn't happen on cue.
Right.
That it has to be personality driven.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
And Zach is the biggest personality on that show. And Aaron's really cool. Nick was more of the quiet guy.
Right.
But that's just the way television is,
Yeah, that's so true.
It is so true. But he is probably the best in the field at doing that.
Yeah, probably. And he's actually, you know what? I'll tell you something that a lot of people don't think about Zach. Zach is extraordinarily intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first person, Hollywood Ghost Hunters magazine, by the way, shameless plug, www.hghmag.com. The first person that I ever interviewed for the magazine was Zach. And what I always do when I interview somebody, I write the whole article and I send it to them and let them proofread it before I put it up.
Right.
Right. That way there's, they can't say that I'm trying to ambush them or anything like that, because I figure it's only fair they get to read what I'm writing. And I sent it to him, and it wasn't maybe 2 minutes later, and this was like a 4-page thing where he just scratched through a couple things, said, could you change this to this, and could you change this to that? So the fact that he was able to read it that fast, make the changes, and send it back to me, I mean, the guy's no box of rocks, let me tell you.
Well, I mean, if you watch his work, he couldn't be and do what he does.
Well,
like I said, the only thing that I've ever had any qualms at all about is the fact that so many people are so aware of him. So many people think so much of him that they want to be him. They want to do things the way he does them. And that's just based on his popularity. I mean, it's because he is good at what he does. But if you don't know what you're doing, some of those methods can have sometimes negative effects. He experiences them himself.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I'll give you for instance, when what happened at Bolton Abbey is some people were calling on spirits, and things that they shouldn't have been messing with.
Right.
Right. And I told them after like this chaos happened, I just looked at him. I said, just going to give you one piece of advice. If you knock on the devil's door, he's more than likely going to answer.
Yeah.
That's true. Very true.
Absolutely.
You have to keep that in mind when you're doing this.
Yeah.
And but one of the things that I think is wonderful about him, and we're about to go to our final station break, but one of the things I think is truly astounding about him, since we're on the topic, is that he cares so much about his fan base. And I think that's one of the best things. He's just a really good dude. He really is. And I hear our music in the background, so we will be back in 2 minutes. See you then.
Yay!
Yay!
A 1,000 pigeons sitting on our tower can't be wrong.
And hundreds of people stopping by our station with Hawaiian shirts sort of notice us.
Don't fly away. Stay right here at Let's Talk Radio for the best talk, news, and entertainment.
No birds were actually harmed in this announcement, although we have had a few thoughts.
WGOG DB Clearwater. Let's talk.
We're more connected than ever before. 90% of America's students use some form of social media, but not all of it's used in a good way. Hurtful posts online are leading to social isolation for many. Psychologists say it's bullying in a brand new way. Well, Beyond Differences and I Keep Safe are looking to change that with ideas for students, their parents, and even teachers. Take the pledge to be kind online and learn more at wearekindonline.com.
Do you want to learn English for free? Visit usalearns.org. Our free website offers hundreds of interesting videos and educational activities for learning English online. More than 7 million people around the world have used USA Learns to increase their job opportunities and improve their lives. Use your computer, laptop, or tablet and start learning English today for free at usalearns.org.
This is going to be our final segment. I don't know where the time goes because I'm not ready to be done. But, gentlemen, I am so ready. Tony, do you have another question?
Well, I've got a ton of questions, but obviously our time doesn't allow for that. But it's always great to talk and communicate with other people in the paranormal field because you always learn something. And like we were saying before, there might be a lot of people that might not like Zach for some of the things he does, but let's face it, he got there. He got where he is for a reason. So obviously he is good at what he does and he knows how to do it. And let's face it, when you're in television, the show's about ratings. So that, kind of conflicts sometimes with what true investigation is. And we all know that. But this was a great opportunity to talk to Rick, and it was a great opportunity also for you to talk to you, Kat. But when you start combining stories and ideas, and that's where the paranormal can move up a level, and it's always great when that can be done.
You're right. And the contest
agree with you.
I'm sorry, Rick.
No, I just said I agree with him.
The contest that Tony won was about coming together as a field to try to achieve unity and try to achieve some type of standard of measurement, methods of investigation, so that when we talk to each other and we're trying to determine if we've been able to develop a good evidence and compare with friends and come together to determine perhaps what it actually is that you've captured in your evidence base, that there will be standard methods of measuring as opposed to comparing apples to zebras, which everybody's going off on their own tangent.
Yeah, those are all great points. But, even today, there's struggles over, not sharing evidence because no one wants you to know or tell you where they got it or how they, it's a all about me thing today. And that's where the paranormal field just really, to me, has taken a couple steps down.
Well, it's hard to get other people backing your evidence up if you won't share with them where you've been.
No, absolutely.
How you did that.
And if you're not sharing that with the other people who are doing the same thing, then a lot of information gets lost. I mean, let's face it, paranormal activity doesn't happen on command. In order to catch it is hard enough. But if you've got other people doing it and sharing the same thing, it can start to be replicated and say, okay, this happened. Yeah, we got that too. But Not a lot of that's happening today. I'd like to see that changed.
Well, I do have a suggestion for the people who are listening, is that you have to remember that every single person feels things differently.
True.
That's very true.
Because you are standing there and you didn't see or did not feel what they did does not denigrate their feeling.
Nope, very true.
Okay,
very
I mean,
true.
I never, if somebody says, I just saw, the ghost of Elvis Presley walking towards me, I never say, oh, you're a bunch of, you're a knucklehead. Because, hey, I don't know.
Right.
Right. No, that's true.
I mean, I think once
like
people start, I think once people start acknowledging other people, that they have other feelings and different depths that they feel, different things that they'll see, instead of saying, well, you couldn't possibly have seen that, to say, well, yeah, I guess you really possibly could have.
Very true. Very, very true.
Yeah, it comes back to kindness and respect and willingness to not be the top dog in every single thing that you do, and not being so afraid, like, let the ego loose a little bit. It's okay for other people to achieve things too.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of like to help bring them along to that.
Exactly.
I will tell you something real quick before we go, though, just because it's just give you a for instance. We do a lot of, Kane and RA and I do different paranormal conferences and Scarefest and things like that. The biggest cheer that I ever got at one of those things when we were up on the stage, somebody asked us, first off, one person asked us, they said, you guys don't have a TV show, other groups do. And I said, yeah, but we've done 300 movies. We win.
There you go.
Good point.
And somebody else said to me, they said, well, have you ever been offered a thing? I said, actually, a huge production company, I had a meeting with them, and they were going to sign us, and they had an in to put us right on. And the guy said, so let me ask you this. If it gets quiet, what are we going to do to fill up that time? And I was just sitting there. We were sitting across each other from the table. And I told the people, I looked at him, I said, are you asking me to maybe fake something? And he goes, well, it is TV. And I said, I just looked at him, got up and said, hey, thanks for stopping by.
No doubt.
Exactly.
That's very disheartening, but it is the way of selling advertising.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, right now, if I stood out on my apartment thing here and turned around and threw a rock, I would hit the ghost hunter's office.
Really?
That's how close they are to me.
Wow. Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, there's no television station out there that's really looking to define the paranormal. It's entertainment, so that's the way it works.
Well, I think one of the problems is you can't define it.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was going to say. They've been doing that for centuries.
Yeah, that's even a better point.
Because
it's like looking at girls. Kat, you're out of this discussion. It's like looking at girls. You may see a girl and you go, yabba, 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 and I'll go, eh.
True. It's perspective. Absolutely.
Same thing.
Yep. No, that's a great way of pointing it out.
All right, Kat, you're back in.
All right. Hey, I'm at the beach this week, and it's spring break, so, you look at things, even when you're old.
I don't know. I was usually in jail whenever I went on spring break, but that's another story.
Well, I tell you, I do have to give kudos to the kids in the house behind me, because they are University of Georgia kids. And I went next door and I asked very nicely the other night for them to please keep their music down from 7 to 9 on Wednesday night. And there has not been a peep from that house. So kudos to Georgia students.
At least they listen. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, when we were in Australia, now I don't know how these Australian people that do movies even survive. We were staying at a compound, and it was only the movie crew and a couple of the cast were staying at this place. And it had no amenities. I mean, it didn't have TV, radio, anything. I mean, I didn't even have a chair in my room, and we didn't have dressers, right? I mean, you had all your clothes in your. I mean, it was like living with the Flintstones. But every night they had a thing. They had a thing called Beer Club, and they'd get cases of beer, and there'd be like 40 of them singing all freaking night long. And one day, Kane was sitting there, and we were talking to him, and they were talking about Beer Club. We're having lunch and or dinner, and they said, "You sing all night long. How do you know when to stop?" And they said, "Oh, we know when to stop." And he says, "Well, how's that?" They said, "When Rick opens up his window and says, 'Shut up!'"
There's your signal.
That's the sign. But, well, I just had to give kudos to them because it is 3 houses full of sorority and fraternity people, and they are just so wonderful. And I appreciate them.
Who could turn you down, Kat? I mean, you're one of the nicest people that's ever lived. I mean, come on. You go over there with that little smile going, "Can you please?" And they're all like, "Okay."
Yeah. Well, you know what I did? I said, "I have one of the men from Hollywood Ghost Hunters, and it's such a big deal for me. And if you would just please help me to do this well." And they were like, "Really?
When you lie like that, God is listening."
Well, actually, that was what, sold the point. Plus, they were very nice young people. So
yeah, most people will be nice if you give them the chance.
Absolutely, I believe that too. I absolutely believe that because people are so quick to write other people off, and it's like, no, just pay attention, watch them.
Everybody in the planet has value.
Yes,
that's for sure.
And they should be treated like that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You know what, guys? We are getting so close to the end of the show, and
no,
I know, and I already have requests, Rick, for you to come back. So everybody in chat wants you back. But
hey, hello, chat people.
Yes, they love you too. And I just wanted to tell you that I am so glad that we met, and I am glad that we're friends, and I appreciate your time coming tonight. I know it's a lot earlier there than here, so I hope you didn't have to change your afternoon tremendously to be able to be here, but I appreciate that you are.
Well, I mean, you took up a little of my reading about the Green Bay Packers on the internet, but I guess it can wait because the season's not for another 6 months.
Well, but the trading and stuff is happening now.
I know. Yeah,
so it's very exciting.
I'm a huge fan.
Well, I like them too because they are completely fan supported, and I think that's just the coolest thing ever.
The coolest thing ever is if you looked at my wall, you'd see Green Bay Packers stock certificate number 41 up on my wall.
Get out. I didn't know that. That's
yep,
cool.
My godmother actually used to date Curly Lambeau. She had the bar across the street from the where they practiced.
I know exactly where that is. I went to college in Green Bay, so
Where'd you go?
I know that area well. Went to the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay.
Oh, I went to St. Norbert for a year.
Oh, really? Know exactly where that is.
Yeah.
Wow,
I used to walk across that bridge.
That wooden bridge? Yeah.
And no, the cement one that goes, from De Pere into West De Pere.
Oh, yes.
In the winter, that's a treat.
Oh, yeah.
This is such a small world.
It is. It really is.
Not if you have to walk.
True that. But I do like walking. Oh, no, my stepmother is from Madison. There is no way. I do not like cold. It is too cold here as we speak. So I'm just about ready for summer.
Very cool. By the way, if you guys ever decide to go to Scotland or anything, give me a shout, and I'll see if I can't hook you guys up. That goes for the people that are listening, too. If you ever want some info, just hit me up on, Hollywood Ghost Hunters. The contact thing comes right to me. Or I'm on Facebook, Rick McCallum on Facebook, or Hollywood Ghost Hunters on Facebook. If you want any info about Scotland, any of those places, just give me a shout.
Well, I will be shouting because that is on my bucket list, and I am dying to go over there. I want to do those vaults.
Unfortunately, on my bucket list, all I have is like real buckets. I've got a wooden bucket, a half gallon. I mean, it's just it's actually not as exciting as people think. Having a bucket list.
Well, I hear our music starting up, and I have to tell you, Tony, that it has been a joy having you on tonight. I think you're going to be a great host, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Kat. It has been a pleasure. Rick, it was an absolute pleasure to talk with you, hear your stories, and be a part of this conversation. So thank you both very, very much.
And thank you, Kat and Tony. I think you're going to have a very long career on the radio.
Absolutely. And that being said, I'm hearing music, so I have to tell y'all, same cat time, same cat channel. Y'all have a fantastic week. Good night.